Hello everybody, today we're going to be going over how to input new equipment and edit equipment records. So here I'm going to start off on the login screen. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Then as I log in, I'm immediately met with my calendar view. If I want to go to equipment records, I just go up to the 9 boxes up here, click on that. And then we're met with a drop-down option. If we want to go to equipment, we're just going to be clicking on capital assets, and then of course equipment records. So the page loads in, we're going to be looking on the left-hand side here where we have all of our previous pieces of equipment that's already been plugged in. If I want to add a new piece of equipment, all I need to do is go up to the top right here where this little plus sign is and click on that. And then here's where we start plugging in all the details that we have on the equipment that we wish to add. Obviously, for the sake of time, we're not going to be going over each individual aspect of this record, but for now, we're going to go over the 4 required areas, which is description, location, equipment type, equipment area. For description, I usually type in the actual piece of equipment name as well as the location. Then down here at the location, equipment type, and equipment area, I'm going to hit these little drop-down options and find where each match. Important thing to note is that if you do not hit the drop-down option, like how I just showed you, and instead type it in and it's not on the actual drop-down list itself, it will not be saved. And so if I were to go to equipment type here, and if for some reason I don't find what I need or a good description of what this equipment is, I can go down here to the edit list values. And then here on the drop-down list, I can go ahead and add a new option, and let's just say pedal operating mode. And then if I go over here to the blue check mark, that will save. And if I close out here and I go back to our little drop-down option, I'll be able to find it in here. See, there it is right there. So I do that. Let's just go through an example, and I find that this is in the processing area. From there, that is all the required areas that need to be added to a piece of equipment. If you wish to save your progress, up here in the top right, you just hit the blue little check mark. Or if you want to cancel your progress, just hit the little red circle. Of course, it's recommended that the more information that we have, the better. So we're going to keep scrolling through and add more. Obviously, a couple areas here, of course, the supplier manufacturer. These are also both drop-down options, which in a separate video we'll go over how to add vendors onto Mpulse. There's a couple other options too: serial number, model number, style type. All this will be, great information to plug in if on hand. And if we go over to the next section here on the service area, this is going to be our meter service. Here at LNC, we don't really use this area only because you'll need this is very beneficial if there's a data link option to the equipment. So to give an example here, let's say I am operating a piece of rolling stock or a loader, and I want the frequency either to be hours and the frequency interval to be every day. So if I were to go down here and add, I can go down to the name and put in engine hours, units, hours, type would be the condition. And so let's say between every 400 and 500 hours, I want it to pop up with a work order or notify me. And so let's say the current is 10,000. The big issue that we have with this is since Mpulse doesn't know, since it doesn't have that data link and doesn't know that when the piece of equipment or rolling stock will actually be at between 400 and 500 hours, this is not necessarily useful. Of course, it could be used in a couple other different ways, but for the most part, we stick away from this, especially since we have a schedule maintenance record option here on Mpulse, which is going over in a separate video on how to input that. That is our main way of creating scheduled maintenance records onto Mpulse. But of course, if I were to go to here to the red circle. We'll cancel that and we'll move on. So below that's the finance section. It is how it sounds. Of course, you have a couple different options to plug in here, and this will be beneficial for assuming the price of the asset and kind of a couple different areas. So of course, you got the purchase price, life expectancy, cost center. Another big thing is if a piece of equipment has a warranty on it, we can go ahead and plug that in. And of course, it's always going to be here forever. There, of course, has the purchase date and startup date, which will also be really nice to have if that's also available, just to know, when to expect that piece of machinery to maybe go out and maybe to start thinking about buying a new one. So if we continue to scroll down here in the spare parts area, this is probably my favorite section because we're going to be able to plug in inventory onto a piece of equipment. And so to do that, if I go to the 3 little dots, excuse me, on the right hand side here and click this little link option, this will pull up all of the pieces of inventory that we have currently put into Mpulse. And so here we have 7 pages of stuff. Granted, a lot of this is location specific. So here, obviously on page 5 of 7, we have a lot of stuff that is plugged into the Hereford hay yard. So it'll be very beneficial to plug in stuff that's at your location. A big reason why, of course, we have everybody see everyone else's inventory is in case there is spare parts that are months and months out from being shipped to the location, but maybe a sister location has that piece of part or equipment that you desperately need. So you're able to reach out via that. And so from here, we're able to click on any one of these. I'm just going to randomly click on this and hit the link button down here in the bottom right. And so that's going to be able to link that piece of inventory to the equipment records. In a separate video talking about inventory records, we kind of go into more detail about how that's being used and the benefits of the inventory section. But for now, all we need to know is how to input inventory onto equipment records. And this says it vice versa. So whether you plug in inventory to equipment or equipment into inventory, it'll pop up for both. But we'll go ahead and move on here to another one of my favorite sections here, the media section. So this is probably the most versatile of all the areas while working with Mpulse, especially when it comes to equipment records. So the media section is as kind of like it says, we can link any file, video, link, website, anything that we want just by going over here to the 3 dots on the right and then hitting that link button. And so from here, of course, we have 2 options. We can either choose a file off our computer or we can link a URL. If I go to the choose files, this will pull up all of my files on hand that's been uploaded onto my OneDrive. And if I go down here to cancel, I'm not going to upload anything right now, but if you were, it will pop up right here with a queue progress. Once that's complete, all you need to do is hit this little upload button and it'll upload directly onto the equipment record. A weird thing about Mpulse though is if you want to view a piece of media, you'll have to click on that media outlet and then go to the 3 dots on the right hand side and then hit this little eyeball. That will allow you to view that piece of media that's been attached, and that is the only way to do so. So by clicking on it directly, you're not going to be able to view that piece of media, but like I said, if you were able to click that little eyeball, you should be able to view it. And so lastly, we go down here to our final section of our component area. And so this will be where we're able to plug in a lot of our details. This is going to be great for our larger piece of equipment that have a lot of aspects to it, where you can plug in motor information, belt information, drive shaft information, gearbox. This will all be really crucial, especially when you get a new piece of equipment in, because oftentimes we find that after a few years of wear and tear, the little section that has the information on the motors sometimes either gets worn out or gets painted over. So we tried to plug it all in here just to have that information ready. And finally, on the right-hand side here, we have a little comment area. This is, again, super simple. All you need to do is to type in whatever comments you want to make on this piece of equipment. And another thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that you can make this a piece of equipment in service or out of service. By taking it out of service, you'll stop all scheduled maintenance records created for this piece of asset. And so that will be crucial for, if you have a piece of equipment that is down right now, but is not going to be for very long, but still want to make that into the records, we can do that pretty easily. Then once I'm done with everything, of course, I go up here to the top right where I either hit the red cancel or the save button. Of course, I'm going to cancel here because I haven't plugged in much. But for now, that's all that there is to adding a piece of equipment. If we want to edit or do anything else with equipment, all we need to do is go to the top right here and hit this little pencil. From there, we can go ahead and upload any other information that we need and edit any section that we want. Of course, I haven't done anything, so I'm going to hit that red circle. To the left of here is the copy current records. This would be great for if you're adding multiple of the same kind of record, but just need to do a few minor changes with each individual record. To the right of it is the delete current record. In order to do that, we'll have to click on the left-hand side which record we wish to delete, and then of course hit this X. Of course, we already talked about the edit, and if we go to the drop-down option here, we have a few little areas that we work with. Of course, we can either open the current work orders for this piece of equipment or open the work order history. This will be great, easy access for pulling up your history or what kind of work has been done on a piece of equipment. And of course, down here in the procedures area, there's creating scheduled maintenance, creating work orders, and creating maintenance requests. Of course, those are all on separate videos as well, but this is a great way to go ahead and get into easy access of creating these kind of procedures in Mpulse. And lastly, we have the print option. This might be a little tricky to start off with here first, but if we go ahead and just hit the custom report and then hit current record, and then would hit OK, it will pull up a printable option for this piece of equipment, and then it's pretty much this hit print again, and it will go into printing that. So that's all I have for creating equipment records.